Do you understand that in America, workers have a fundamental right to join a union and collectively bargain to improve wages, benefits, and working conditions? Do you understand that?
I understand, and we respect the right of every partner who wears a green apron, whether they choose to join a union or not.
Last week, Senator Bernie Sanders grilled former Starbucks interim CEO Howard Schultz for the company's union-busting tactics. Unfortunately, following that hearing, Starbucks was undeterred and continued to possibly break more labor laws by firing more employees for attempting to organize their workplace. Now, the employee who was fired after that hearing, Alexis Rizzo, believes that she was in fact fired in retaliation for the hearing itself. Here's what happened and why Rizzo is so important. Now, she worked at one of the first two Starbucks stores that ended up unionizing in Buffalo, New York. Now, she led the union campaign at her store. Those two stores inspired the massive Starbucks union wave, which has now won elections in almost 300 locations across the country. As for why she was fired, Rizzo claims that she was fired for being late just 4 times over the, get this, 7 years of working as a shift supervisor. She says that on 2 of those occasions, she was only 1 minute late. Rizzo told the Buffalo News, quote, "My store manager was sobbing when she fired me about how much she didn't want to do it. I think it was out of her hands. I think she was forced to do this by higher up management." So that is what Rizzo believes is transpiring across or behind the scenes. Now, meanwhile, a spokesperson for Starbucks told CNBC that Rizzo had missed over 4 hours of work over those 4 occasions, and that she was repeatedly given write-ups for being late. Now, you should take the company's statement at face value if you are dumb. You should not take the company's statement at face value. In fact, you should be skeptical of it, considering all of the other labor violations that the National Labor Relations Board has found Starbucks guilty of, okay? According to Starbucks Workers United, more than 200 Starbucks workers have been fired in retaliation for organizing. The National Labor Relations Board has alleged that Starbucks has fired over 60 union leaders across the country. Just last month, an NLRB judge ordered Starbucks to reinstate 7 Buffalo area workers who were illegally fired. And by the way, that's in addition to other labor violations. In total, the union has made more than 500 complaints of unfair labor practices related to Starbucks with the Federal Labor Board. Judges have found that the company has broken federal labor laws 130 times. More details on this in just a moment, but Waz, I want to bring you in because I'm really curious what you thought about the hearing itself and just thoughts on Rizzo's firing as well.
The hearing I found to be quite interesting because it forced the Democrats to actually take a side against the corporate overlords, which is not something that they ever want to do unilaterally. Bernie's gonna always be out there, a mass against these guys, right? Every now and again, you'll get a Liz Warren to come out and go against him. Joe Biden rhetorically every now and again will feign some support for the working man, but we know where he ultimately stands. So I found that to be quite interesting, where all the Democrats, people like Chris Murphy, had to come out and be like, this is crap, this is BS. You guys are breaking the law and you guys are hurting the little guy. I found that to be interesting because the Dems rarely, as a unit, go against corporate.
Can I just pause for a second? Because I think you make such a great point, and I hadn't thought about that. So I love that Bernie held this hearing because it's one of the rare instances where a corporation is being held accountable for the right reasons. Far too often these hearings are just meant to provide theater and make it
kabuki
seem
theater.
like the big tech hearings, they never amount to anything. It's just a bunch of lawmakers looking for their soundbite. But the point that you make about forcing the Democratic Party to take a stand when really they try to skirt that in any way possible is incredible, right? Because the party has increasingly just kind of dug its heels into culture war related stuff in lieu of policy that would materially improve people's lives. And so holding their feet to the fire on an issue like this, I think, is incredibly important. Just wanted to share my thoughts on that, but continue.
Of course, and just to piggyback off of what you just said, we can use a different example of the Silicon Valley Bank, where it's just like, oh, Donald Trump got this through, and the Republican Congress got this through, and they magically, Anna, found 10 Democratic votes to support it. They needed 9, they found 10 miraculously, because if it was 13, they wouldn't have found 14, Anna.
Right.
Or if it was 15, they wouldn't have found 16. They just miraculously, they just found these 10 Democrats, because the Democrats would never want to side with, the banking sector. It's absurd. They do this time and time again. This is how they operate. And the second thing was these people. These people have been found in violation of labor law 130 times. I'm sorry, if I got 130 speeding tickets or assault charges or drug dealing, panhandling, you name the charge. If they found me to be guilty 130 times, I couldn't credibly go anywhere and be like, no, we maintain our innocence. Like, these people have no credibility. They're blatantly flouting federal labor law.
Right.
And I will never get tired of bringing this up. Where the hell is the Justice Department? Where the hell is Joe Biden? They're stepping in on behalf of the railroad companies when the union organizes itself at the most opportune time to withhold their labor and try to win a fight for themselves. They have no problem jumping in front of that train. Literally and metaphorically. Where the hell are they right now with Starbucks workers when these guys are blatantly breaking the law? Where are these fools?
Yeah, look, to be fair, the redeeming aspect of the Biden administration is his National Labor Relations Board. Under the Trump administration, he specifically appointed members of the National Labor Relations Board that would just actively rule against workers. And to be sure, that is exactly what happened. A former Google employee that the right wing was backing because they felt that he was unfairly fired after putting out a memo regarding why the tech industry doesn't bring in more female coders. Like, he wrote some stuff in that memo that was deemed offensive, right? So Google ends up firing him. And James Damore, that was his name, he decides, this is during the Trump administration, Trump backed him, all the right wingers backed him. He's like, you know what? I got wrongfully fired in the state of California. I'm gonna file a complaint with the National Labor Relations Board. Well, the NLRB had a bunch of Trump appointees who were against labor, and they ruled against him, ruled against Damore, right? Which, talk is cheap. The right wing might pretend like they're these free speech warriors who want to back this poor employee, but when push comes to shove and they have to make a decision between a worker or a corporation, they're going to go with the corporation every time. And that story perfectly 100%. Showed that.
And you're right. He does deserve credit for appointing actual people who want to uphold laws that are already in existence, by the way. They're not making new rules to protect workers. They're just like, can we just uphold the actual labor laws that are already on the books? And like, yes, kudos to that. But we know, man, when these folks want to rally around something, it's not hard to gin up the support. Wherever you want to feel about the Ukraine-Russia war, you can feel however you want about it. Mm-hmm. When they want to go sell some weapons and they want to be like, look, we got 50 billion under the couch cushion. They rally the troops. They'll go on TV. They will defend the hell out of these initiatives when workers are getting screwed by. And this is not some rinky-dink company. This is Starbucks. Like, this is major. These guys employ a bunch of people. I would like to see more people step up that aren't just, the Bernie Sanders of the world. The Democrats claim to care about this kind of stuff. Step up for these folks.
Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. Now, why don't they step up for these folks? Their campaign donors might be one reason. But I did want to just quickly mention 2 other employees who were fired just last week. They were fired last Friday, again, after the hearings took place. One was fired for also allegedly being late. The other was fired for closing the blinds after sunset, which according to management made it seem like the store was closed. The employee was present at Schultz's Senate hearing, by the way, and had a verbal altercation with the former CEO. So that might have played a role in why this employee was actually fired. But fact of the matter is, the only not governing, but the only entity, agency, government agency I see actually looking out for these workers is the NLRB as it stands today. Who knows what could happen in the future if you have a new administration, certainly a Republican administration. I would venture to say that they would not have a labor-friendly NLRB, much like Trump's administration. And so it is important for them to fight back as hard as they can now, knowing that they have an NLRB that's actually looking out for the best interests of the workers here. But one thing that really stands out to me is Starbucks is undeterred. The hearing didn't shake them. The decisions by federal judges showing that they had violated federal labor laws does not deter them. They continue violating these labor laws because they think they can without any real consequences. So the next question is, what's the enforcement and what will the consequences be should Starbucks continue violating labor laws? And we'll see how that plays out. Any final words on this, Waz?
I mean, I don't know that these folks can count on the executive branch, and obviously, as well as anybody, the judiciary, Supreme Court, this thing will get, they will tear these labor laws in shreds.
That's such a good point.
In that damn court. So yeah, let's hope that something can shake out for these folks.
Thanks for watching the Young Turks, really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.